All right, in this last video, we're going to talk about the written communication. So we've talked about verbal communication, nonverbal communication, and now the last style is written communication. So let's first talk about ways that we can improve our business writing. And one of the biggest points I want to hit on is that our business writing is not how we speak. One of the biggest errors that I see students commit is that when they are writing an assignment to turn in, they write it as if they just are speaking it. And if that's the case, that's just too informal. You use words that are definitely not appropriate for business writing. And so we want to make sure that as we want to improve our business writing, we want to have who is the reader of this information, who is that going to be? And that's going to shape how we write the information. We want to know what objectives we have. What is our goal for writing this? Do I want somebody to have a better understanding of a topic? Do I just want to convey acceptance of something? Or do I just want to put something out there for somebody to consider? And so knowing our objective will shape how we write and what we write. This third point kind of goes back to the such thing as there is too much information. So business writing should be short, it should be concise, and it should be to the point. If we put in too much information, then people are definitely not going to take the time to read it. If it takes too much time, then somebody's going to dismiss it and move on to the next thing. And so it's really important that as we are writing, that we are concise, that we are to the point, and we are including just the information. Because again, with verbal communication, and face-to-face communication, we have those nonverbal and verbal skills. And so somebody can read my emotions on my face, they can hear the tone of my voice, whereas in writing, we don't have that. And so somebody is literally just reading the words and they have to interpret what those words mean. Okay. And then we're going to talk about the different ways that you can present the information here in just a moment. So, rules to business writing. We want to use specific language, but we also want to avoid jargon. Jargon is slang. Jargon can be abbreviations, especially if you don't know that if the person on the other end, the receiving end, understands those abbreviations. So, if I were to write a sentence something like the GM has asked the FOM to look at the ADR for today, and if I just wrote that, if the person receiving that has no idea what GM stands for general manager, and has no idea that FOM stands for front office manager, and ADR stands for average daily rate, much less even knows what the average daily rate is, then that is not effective written communication. And so we want to be more specific. We want to keep the person that we're sending that information to in mind and figure out how am I going to present this information. Okay. We want to use the inverted pyramid. So the inverted pyramid, obviously the base of the pyramid is the widest, and that's the foundation. And so I'm going to draw my pyramid right here. It's inverted. It's turned upside down. So that means the most important information is here. The most important, the foundation of my message is there. Again, business writing should be short, concise, and to the point because people don't have a lot of time to read. And so they want to know what the most important thing is. That's why when you write a resume, when you write a cover letter for your resume, you include that most important information up front to catch the reader's interest and make them want to get to know you more based on your resume or your cover letter. We want to stress the positive. So if somebody is writing to you and you have to respond, we don't want to just say, nope, I'm so sorry, that's not available. We want to be able to give them an option. And so we might say, I'm so sorry that date's not available, but we do have these dates available if if you would like to consider those. And so as we respond to it, it shows that we're not just immediately closing ourselves off, especially in a business world. We want to make sure that we are open for business and welcoming of everybody instead of just saying, nope, I'm so sorry, we don't have the date available. We could also offer have a positive response in saying, but this date's available if you would consider this, or this different time is available. Okay. The topic sentences basically go with each paragraph. So each paragraph should have its own identity, its own sense of purpose, and that topic sentence should introduce what that paragraph is going to talk about. So rather than writing one long piece of paper with no paragraph breaks, with no sections, it divided up into, then this by the paragraph helps us read those topics each piece by piece, and using those topic sentences to introduce what that paragraph is going to be all about tells that reader, okay, this is important, I need to pay attention to this. The last thing I want to talk about is our written communication, the different types. We're going to go through business letters, memos, and emails. Okay, these are the main three types of business written communication. The letterhead's going to be the letter is going to be primarily on letterhead, meaning it's going to have the logo at the top of the letter of the paper. You're going to start with what we call the block style. So you're going to have the date. The address block is of the addressee, so who you're sending it to. You're going to have that address block there, and then you are going to then have the body of your paragraph of your letter. You're going to introduce dear so-and-so, or we don't typically like to use to whom it may concern, because that seems very vague and very generalized. If you're writing a cover letter to your resume, you may say, dear hiring manager. So you're addressing that letter to somebody specific. And then you write your letter, and then you sign it sincerely, thank you, I look forward to meeting with you, well, whatever, however you want to close it, and then you sign it. The memo is kind of like a business letter, but it's more internally, right? And so I'm going to send this to my internal people. And so you're going to have the to, you might have to multiple people. You're going to have the from, that's where your name is, the subject of your memo, the date, and then you're going to write your actual body of your memo. So like all your written stuff will be here. And the difference between a memo and a business letter is that in a memo, you sign up here next to your name. Okay, so this would all be typed out. And so you actually sign up here, whereas in a letter, you sign at the bottom, a memo, you sign up at the top. Lastly, emails. Okay, so you're going to have that subject line. It needs to be kind of something that's going to essentially tell the reader what that is in that email. Okay, what is the subject of the email? But it cannot be a full sentence, right? It's just a short version summary of what's in that email, like a 1 to 2, maybe 3 to 4 words max. Okay, subject line. And then you're going to have, we're going to send it to the individual. If we want to send it to somebody, to multiple people, you might CC, which means carbon copy. You might CC somebody, but then you also might BCC, which stands for blind carbon copy. And what blind carbon copy does, it protects the identity of the people that are involved with the email. Okay, so let's say, for example, I wanted to send an email out to my class, but I also wanted to show Chef Salinas that I'm sending this email, and maybe even the dean, the vice president, maybe even Dr. Lawston, right? But I don't necessarily want the people who are receiving the email to see those sensitive emails. Okay, and so if that's the case, then I would do a BCC. Another example of when I would do BCC is when I was an event planner, and I just finished the wedding show, and I just met like 60 brides, and I want to send them all the same information, but I don't want to send 60 emails. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send an email to myself. So in the to, I would put david@riociboloranch.com. And then on the BCC part, I would send it to all the brides' emails, okay? That way, I'm protecting the privacy of all the brides. They're not getting each other's email addresses. And so by doing that, they can all get the same stuff. And then also by sending it to myself, I can also see when it was actually sent. And so it's really important that we use that BCC when we want to protect the privacy of the other people that are on that. The last thing I want to touch about is reply and reply all. Okay, this is one of my biggest personal pet peeves, is a reply all. If I need to reply to the sender, reply, if somebody sends something to me, for example, my chorus manager just sent out an email to all of the bass twos, and he basically said, I need a response. Are you going to sing with us in the 2019-2020 season, right? I replied to him and said, yes, I will be there, but I need to have this performance off, okay? 3 other people in my section replied all. I don't need to know that you just replied to my chorus manager, okay? And so using reply all means it's going to send your reply to everybody else. Now, that reply all might also get you in a little bit of trouble. So if somebody sends a message out, and think about like a group text, and if you send something that you don't know it's on a group text and you say something about somebody that's in the group text, then there's going to be issues, right? Or if maybe your manager says, I need feedback on what we can do to improve our service in the future. They send out to all the servers. And somebody replies all and is like, Sally's not pulling her weight, she needs to be fired. Well, you just send that to everybody that manager when you really intended it just to be sent to the manager. So be careful with that reply all versus reply. And that's it for written communication.